Hello, welcome or welcome back. I'm so happy that you're here because today we're going to talk about something that I feel like is often left out of this whole conversation around, wanting to create a healthier lifestyle and eat better and stay on track with healthy habits, all these things that we want to do. I think that this is something that is often sabotaging our success, and yet something we don't talk about and maybe aren't even all that aware of. Can you guess what it is? You probably can by the title of the video. But what I want to talk to you about today is fear of success. Yeah, because I think often we talk about fear of failure, right? That's something we're very familiar with. We're all afraid to fail. We're all afraid to try something and fall on our face or feel like we, wasted our time or money or, tried hard to do something and didn't make it. Like, that's something we're all afraid of. But I also think there is a real element in this whole healthy living journey that we're on around fear of success. At some level, of course, we want to create this healthy lifestyle, right? We want these things so much. We want to lose weight. We want to feel better. We want to improve our health. We want to avoid, getting ill. We want to have it not feel so hard, right? We want to get out of that horrible loop where we feel like we're taking, one step forward and three steps back. Like, we want this so much at some level. And yet I also think that we have to be honest about the fact that I think there is often also a fear of achieving it, a fear of success, a fear of actually getting what we want. So let's talk about that a little bit, because there are two ways that I think this happens in our lives. The first is that I think we have to be honest about the fact that at some level, the unhealthy behaviors and habits and patterns that we have are serving us, right? There is some payoff. One of the things we know about the human brain is that it doesn't repeat things if they're not working for it in some way, right? They might also be causing you a lot of pain and frustration, and you might just be so sick of your old habits and patterns, but you wouldn't keep repeating them if they weren't working for you in some way. So there is some payoff to what we're doing right now, whether it's the nighttime binging or the turning to sugar when we're stressed or any of these things. Yes, it's frustrating, and yes, we want to change those habits, but we also have to be honest about the fact that we are also getting something out of that. And so I think that part of the fear of success is the fact that there's a part of your brain that has done the math and realizes that if you give up these old patterns and these old habits, really, you are going to have to let go of that security blanket, right? You are going to have to find other ways of managing, coping with the difficulties of life, right? What if we didn't have the sugar or the wine or the nighttime potato chips or ice cream? They serve some purpose, right? They are our security blankets, our coping mechanisms. They are what we know. They're what we're familiar with. And so I think some of the fear of success comes from our brains having followed these breadcrumbs to the end and realizing that, oh, if I really create this healthy lifestyle that I claim I want, I'm going to have to give up those things. And what will I do then, right? What will I do with these feelings? What will I do with stress? What will I do with loneliness? What will I do with sadness? What will I do when I'm bored? Again, we might not be consciously having this conversation in our heads, but I think subconsciously this is going on, and it is part of the fear of success. The second element, I think, to the fear of success is just something as simple as the unfamiliar. I talk a lot about how our brains love nothing more than the familiar, right? We like things that are familiar, even if they're painful, even if they're frustrating, even if we also want to change them. Our brains really love things that are familiar, because for your brain, familiar equals safe. If you've done something many, many times and it's sort of your habit and your pattern, and so far it has not killed you, then to your brain, that means that's great. That's safe. We should keep doing that, right? Why would we try something different? We know this works. We know this is safe. We should keep doing this, right? That is the message from your brain. Your brain loves things that are familiar. It's why change is so hard. It's why doing things in a different way is so hard, because your brain loves things that are familiar. Again, even if they're painful. So that means that when you set about wanting to create sort of this new healthy lifestyle, this new you, this new version of you who makes healthy choices, who puts themselves first, who, sets up their life in a way that is really supportive of their long-term goals. That can feel really unfamiliar because there's a part of your brain that does not know who that person is. There's a part of your brain for whom that version of you feels very unfamiliar and thus potentially dangerous. Again, I'm not saying that you're maybe consciously having this conversation in your head and thinking, oh, I don't want to create healthy habits because it feels dangerous. No, but at a deeper sort of that limbic system in your brain, that ancient sort of caveman, prehistoric part of your brain that just does not like new things, does not like unfamiliar things, I think the idea of creating this new you who goes about life in a different way feels really frightening, feels scary, feels like the unknown. And again, you might not be conscious about this, but I think that this is often at the root of a lot of our self-sabotaging behaviors, right? Sometimes people just get so confused because they don't understand why when I'm doing so well, if I've been doing so well all week, or I've been doing well for weeks, and then I sabotage it all, why do I do that? I think that these are some of the reasons. I think that your brain is afraid of giving up its security blankets and its coping mechanisms that have worked so well. And I think also part of you doesn't know who this new you is. So after we've had this conversation now, you and I hope that you will maybe start to notice whether some of these things might be going on for you. Do you think that you are sabotaging yourself in any way because of a fear of success? And I think the first step in changing that and assuring your brain that it is safe to proceed with a new you, I think we have to start to be aware of, are some of these things, is there some fear here around giving up our security blankets? Is there fear around not knowing who we would be if we had to, if we weren't the version of us that we are now? And, one of my favorite tools for working with this, and I teach this in my Change Your Brain, Change Your Body program, is visualization. I think that if you can spend just a few minutes each day, you could just do this in the shower, you could do it while you're washing the dishes, do it while you're walking the dogs, do it before you fall asleep at night. Take just a few minutes each day and start to visualize what that future you, that future healthy lifestyle that you want to create, what might that really look like? Really imagine yourself being that person. Visualize yourself just, going through even just a normal day. You don't have to be on some exotic beach somewhere or something, but like just in your normal day, when you face your normal stresses and challenges of the day, the typical things that come up for you that maybe currently send you towards food. See if you can visualize yourself navigating those differently and see how it would feel to be that person. What this does is it kind of helps you practice. It helps you sort of dress rehearse being that healthy you, right? Experiencing success and getting your brain a little bit more used to it so that it becomes familiar with that new you. And it's not so scary. It's not so unfamiliar. Your brain can think, oh, I know who this person would be, this person who makes healthy choices, who has a different way of coping with stress, who navigates her day in a different way, who makes herself a priority, who, makes healthy choices consistently. I start to feel familiar with who that person is, right? Because you've kind of dress rehearsed that. You've practiced that in your head of what that would look and feel like. And so then it's not so scary anymore for your brain. It's not so unfamiliar. And so your brain won't be so resistant to it. And what you might find is that you tend to sabotage yourself less once you've done this kind of exercise. So see if a little daily visualization exercise works for you. Again, just give it a try. It's almost like a make-believe exercise, just imagining yourself in this sort of imaginary world where you are the person that you want to be. You do lead this healthy lifestyle. You're still yourself, but you have shifted in that you now make healthy choices. You put yourself first. You make self-care a priority. You love your body enough to want to make the healthier choices, Imagine what that would be for you. How would that feel? What would that look like? And practice. in this little visualization exercise so that your brain starts to become more familiar with it. So let me know in the comments below. I'm so curious. Do you think that fear of success could be playing a role in some of the self-sabotage you may have been doing in the past? And do you think that practicing a little 1 or 2 minutes a day of just visualizing that future successful you might help by dress rehearsing your success for your brain so that it's not so afraid, so that it's not so unfamiliar with who that future you would be? Let me know. I'm so curious. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I post new videos here every week where we dive into more of these topics around how to really reprogram and rewire the way your brain thinks about making healthy choices, so that staying on track with those healthy choices consistently starts to feel so much easier, starts to just feel kind of like your new normal, your new default, and you don't feel like you're fighting your own brain all the time. All right? Awesome. Okay, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you right back here next week.